It's money you made it.
Best ice cream out here, yo. I need a jacket to bust open. As an investor, we'll put a link below for this shirt.
So what's going on, y'all? What's up today? We doing our question of the day today, our little table talk that we usually do, and we want to include you into our conversation. But Ashley has a question for me, so we're going to answer it together. What might that be?
So the question is, well, since high school, the way that you envision yourself, has it changed since then?
Absolutely so. So my vision of myself in high school is funny because I really didn't see myself further than college. My high school was like one of those magnet schools where you had to have good grades in order to get in. And so they really focused all of their energy on helping us to get into college and helping us to be able to get into college with a scholarship. And that was really about it. I never really saw myself beyond college. It was really just working on, you know, keeping my grades up, getting a scholarship into college. And then in my head, I felt like eventually it'll just work itself out, right? Eventually, I'll figure out who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do once I got there. And it probably wasn't the best route to take, but I think because I focused all my energy in getting into college, I was able to get 100% full scholarship to get into college. So I accomplished that. I accomplished my goal that I had in college. But then I felt like after that, I had no clue on which way I wanted to go. What I did know was that, you know, I had 9-to-5 jobs since I was 14 years old. I was working since 14, and something just told me that I wanted to work. You know, I just got out there and I made it happen. But what I discovered was when I got my very first 9-to-5 job, I was working at like Popeyes. But when I got my very first job, what I noticed was that the money that they were paying me was nowhere near adding up to what I saw for me in my dreams. So I'm a 14-year-old kid. I'm like, well, you know, I got goals. I want to get this. I want to buy that. I want to be able to do this. I saw these things that I wanted to have and this lifestyle that I wanted to have. But what I discovered was that the job that I had was paying me minimum wage. And I was doing the math, like how many hours was I going to be able to work to be able to get the things that I wanted. And so in my head as a 14-year-old kid, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should get 2 and 3 jobs. And so I'm literally in high school working multiple jobs, thinking that the more jobs that I work, maybe I eventually get the worth that I was looking for. And it didn't matter how many jobs I had, I never reached out to my worth. And so I knew working at the job didn't really satisfy me monetarily wise. And so I was thinking like maybe eventually I have a career where they'll pay me my worth. But I did know that while I was at the jobs, they were telling me like, you know, you don't like authority, or I was getting there late. I didn't really like the structure that they had. But in my head, I never really saw the entrepreneur way out. Even though right now I know that it fits me to the T, that's the best thing for me. But at that time, when I was in high school, I never thought about owning a business, and that could be because, you know, I never had that example in my family. So both of my parents worked at the same job for, you know, my whole life, and they, you know, just working on retiring there. And so when I saw them and I, you know, see them wake up and do the same thing every day and go to the same place, I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to stay at one job and retire there. I knew that for a fact, but I just didn't know the other option that I had. But I just knew that, okay, it has to be something else. And so I think at the time that I was thinking like maybe I can be a music artist, maybe I can play basketball, like those typical things. And you know, but I still had good grades. I still got a scholarship, and I ended up taking psychology in college and things like that. But I still wasn't sure what I was going to do with that. And so it really took me after college to start my first business. I've started multiple businesses since then. And so I think my vision of myself in high school was not even enough. I didn't even have a vision of myself 10 years later. I think that's the problem. And then, you know, who I did see myself as is nowhere near who I am now today. I've totally surpassed that of what I thought I wanted to be, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I'm totally past what I can even see myself in the vision of me. But what about you, babe? Like, who do you see yourself, like how you saw yourself in high school? Do you feel like the vision of yourself then is the same as right now?
I do, in a way, because in high school, in a way, because I did envision myself to be an entrepreneur. I've always had that in my mind. Like, I just knew I was always going to own a business. I didn't really know how I was going to get there, even though we mapped out a plan. Like in second grade, me and my mom, we mapped out a plan on how to own a salon. And I know that at that time we talked about college, and she was like, you know, you don't have to go to college if you don't want to, because you have a trade, which is cosmetology, and you can always rely on the trade. So I know that later down the line, I did start college, but I didn't finish, and I was not worried about that because I did have a trade, and also I felt like I accumulated experience that was equivalent to the education of that major, which was business management. But I really did envision myself to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, to be free, to have like a freedom lifestyle, to work and travel. I knew I never want to stay at one place. Like, I knew I always wanted to go somewhere, just be free, you know, be mobile. And I felt like I accomplished those goals now. You know, I was able to own a salon already. I'm living a freedom lifestyle, I'm traveling where I want to go. And, you know, the vivid things, like I feel like I vividly envisioned me going to Thailand, you know, in high school, because I really wanted to go, you know, somewhere different, somewhere I thought that I would never be. And then now here I am in Thailand. So it's just like, it's just crazy how you do envision these things, you know, in high school, and it actually comes true. But I feel like it took me a while to get here because I always thought I had to be older. You know, I felt like I will only accomplish these things when I'm like 40. My late 30s, you know, I never thought I would accomplish it all before I'm 25 or 26 now. So it's just like, you know, it's so crazy that these things happen. But I do feel like I did work regular jobs, you know, after high school. I still got a job. I still worked at Domino's. That was my first job. And I was only making like $7.25 an hour. And, you know, I was doing that full time while I was trying to figure out school. And I felt like, you know, I always want to be an entrepreneur because I always jump into the leadership roles. Like, I'm always getting hired as a regular, like, CSR, as a customer service rep, or like a mediocre job. Then I move up very quickly. Like, now I'm manager, now I'm assistant manager a month later. So I always knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur because of how fast I moved up the ranks, and also the questions I had. You know, I always wanted to dig deeper, go to all the meetings and go to all the corporate offices and know what's going on. So I always knew that I was going to be a business owner and very invested into my employees. I feel like I was as a manager. So I feel like, you know, all the jobs that I did have was only like a few, because after that I ended up being a server and a bartender, and those were like the 3 major jobs. I was a secretary at a school for like 2 months. But I left that job because it was a 9-to-5 job. Like, every time I get stuck, like you said, in boundaries, like a 9-to-5, or you gotta come Monday through Wednesday, or you can't do this, or you gotta work this. Like, I can't do those type of rules. I want to be able to be free to just know that I'm good at what I do, and it's gonna get done by the timeline, you know, that you give to me. I don't want you to be like a micromanager or be over top of me. And so I always knew I was gonna be a boss. Always. I knew it. But the lessons I learned just helped me to be a better leader, you know, before anything, just to myself, you know, making more conscious decisions, evaluating the situation, and, you know, write your vision and make it plain. And I feel like I did that numerous times in my life, and I'm still doing it to, you know, now. I wrote down a plan literally to make it plain to myself and itemize it. And then I did it last year, did it the year before, and now I'm doing it again to where I'm creating new goals that I'm going to accomplish, like you said, in a shorter amount of time, because we have accomplished our goals so quickly. Like, you think it's going to take 2 years to accomplish this goal, it's going to take like 2 months. Like, you have to really think that it can happen any moment now. And I like the lesson that's on the mirror of the car on the side. It says objects are closer than what they appear in this mirror. And I feel like that lesson throughout my whole life, you know, things are closer than what they appear. So just don't think longevity or you got a lot of time, because you really don't have that much time. So think about it just happening for you tomorrow. You got to do the necessary actions to get you there.
It's so funny how when we think about who we saw ourselves, you know, 10 years ago, now that we're closer to who our ideal self is, we feel like we're reaching the goals and the visions that we had faster now for some reason. And then also, since we've been together, it's taken a lot of digging, it's taken some getting through a lot of a type of strife and figuring out who we were individually. But then eventually, as we started to come together on what we wanted to do, and our full vision and our relationship started to mesh together. And so even though we had different trades, we had different businesses, eventually they started to somehow come together so that now we can work together as a team and we can use our strengths and things like that. And so when it comes down to us being coaches, you know, that's not something that we saw 10 years ago per se. But because of what we do good and what we've become, eventually those things started to come for both of us. Like now we're really, really good coaches. We can, you know, now we're going to be on stage talking to people. We're going to be, you know, impacting and uplifting millions and millions of people. Like those are things that we probably couldn't even fathom at that time. But because we've come together as two strong superheroes, now we can come together and put huge visions together and use our strengths and use our power that and our vision, and have our vision really work together. And now I feel like we can accomplish things a lot faster together than we may have been able to do before. Before we was making 5-year, 10-year goals. Now we're making 90-day, 1-year goals, and we're accomplishing them. And so I think it's a big difference when we combine forces, or when you combine forces with your mate or with your partner.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And I think it also has something to do with working on yourself daily. You know, that the both of you guys are working on yourself daily and, you know, spiritually getting aligned. Like, it's really going to help with your vision colliding together very smoothly, because you do have a vision separately. You know, you're still an individual, you know, so you still have a purpose outside of your mate. Then you also have a vision with your mate as well. So they all work cohesively. It shouldn't be like, oh, this was different than the other. Like, it should work together. And if it is different, talk about it. Why is it different? Or explain more about it, because it may not be so different after all.
It might not be. It's funny. I mean, when we met, she was all into being a salon owner and, you know, and hair. When she met me, I was all into real estate, which is another thing that I really didn't see myself into. But that was all we were really just focusing on individually. And it's kind of like we had to build a new foundation together. And that we had to get to know each other's crafts and then use our strengths that we already had to help each other's crafts out, and then eventually started to mend those crafts together to the point where we can still do what we do, but we use a lot of the similarities from both industries in order to really make it happen. Like, it's funny how that works.
And then just expanding the amount of knowledge and solutions that you have, because the way that you think about it may be different than how he thinks about it. So him sharing his thoughts to my thoughts or my dream or my vision can either add clarity or complete that vision in a way. And I feel like, you know, definitely express that. You know, I didn't think that it would either. I never thought we would. Well, I would say I never thought we'd be in business together, because I did. I just didn't know what it would be.
Right,
you know?
right. You thought it had to be like one thing. Like,
I'm
this
like,
had to be
how does
this
hair
one
real
industry.
estate,
Yeah,
like, you know, mix together? Like, are we having a real estate room downstairs, a salon upstairs? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, we had to figure that out.
But then it's just like, it's so many different ways now that it would work.
Now it's like
solutions.
We're partners in the salon that we built for her, and we're partners in the real estate company that, you know, I was totally focused on at first. And then we also have built businesses together. Now that we know our strengths, we can really start to build businesses in other industries just by knowing each other and knowing that our vision is going to match up in the end.
Yeah, just like I said, the daily work on yourself and knowing what you're good at, what you're strong at, really will help through solidifying your vision, because, you know, if you're strong at one point and somebody's strong at another, just work together. That's why you have a great team. So you have to pick a great partner that you're, you know, committed to, because you have this teamwork, you know, and one person pulling in, the other person's not. Eventually it's going to be a collision somehow or argument, and you don't want to go that far. You know, just communicate, and also, you know, trust that person. It's very important too.
Definitely. So guys, you know, we always got a call to action for you. The first thing we wanted you to do is, of course, ask this question to your mate, open up some dialogue so that you guys can start to see how far are you from your vision, or how closely are you guys to bringing your vision together and harmonizing that. Also, we want you to be able to click the link in the description, because we have a nice fun quiz for you that can open up and help to open up that communication. Alright, also, we want you to always, of course, click the subscribe button if you already haven't subscribed. If you're already a part of the SHPC, we appreciate you. If you're not a part of the SHPC, make sure you join us today. Also, click the notifications button.
Yep, and make sure you write your answers that your mates gave you down below. Get some comments going. Like, share, comment. Turn on your notifications so you can see us coming. And we can't wait to see what you guys said.
All right, have a good one, y'all. Peace out.
Have a good one.